Hi everybody, it's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel, and today I am going to be reviewing Ruth Ware's The Woman in Cabin 10. I'm a little bit late on this review, I do apologize for that. This was my absolute favorite book of July. I read it for the Reading Rash Readathon, and I read it in one sitting, which was about roughly 6 hours, I want to say. But I loved this in so many different ways. I will do a spoil-free section at the beginning of the video and switch over to a spoilery section later on, but I'll let you know when that comes so that you can click off of it, because this is a mystery thriller, so there will be spoilers at some point in the video. I started discovering Ruth Ware around June, and it is very, very clear to me now that I love her writing style. I think she is phenomenal. She's great at orchestrating twists and turns and taking like ordinary things and spinning a mystery out of them, which I think is a very, very incredible talent. This one is about a woman who suffers a break-in in her apartment. She's freaking out a little bit, and she gets the opportunity to go on this cruise ship's maiden voyage in place of her boss, who can't go because she's sick. And she sees it as an opportunity to really progress in her career, as well as to get out of her apartment and not worry about somebody breaking back in. So it's kind of like a temporary release from that. And when she's there on opening night, she borrows a mascara from the woman in the next cabin, and that cabin is cabin 10. And later that night, she hears a scream and a splash in the water, and goes outside, and she sees like blood on the partition glass between the two cabins. And she's thinking, oh my God, somebody killed her. So, of course, she contacts security, and they search the cabin. They find absolutely nothing inside, no trace that anybody was ever there. And they tell her that the person who was supposed to actually have that cabin pulled out at the last minute, and they weren't there, so it was vacant. But she knows what she saw, and nobody is willing to take her seriously. So, I mean, they think that she's like trying to make things up to progress her career, or that she's just freaked out and imagining things because of her break-in. So she takes it upon herself to try and figure out what happened to this girl, because she's sitting there thinking, well, apparently I'm the only person that knew she was here. So it's up to me to figure out what happened and get her justice. So she starts questioning the staff, questioning other passengers, and ultimately begins to get threats of her own to stop digging. And thought that was just really, really cool. I'm going to switch over to the spoilery section now, because the rest of the things that I have to talk about could give things away, especially for the ending. And I don't want to do that in this portion of the video, because I don't want to ruin this for anybody, because it is fantastic. So go ahead and click off now if you don't have any plans to read this book, or I mean, if you have plans to read this book and don't want to be spoiled. But yeah, so she begins to get threats that she needs to stop digging, and she has a very, very small pool of people it could be. So she's beginning to question everybody. Nobody is safe. Nobody is innocent in her eyes. When security won't do anything, she decides to go to the owner of the ship, and he ends up telling her, I believe you, we can't dock now, but when we get to this certain little town, we'll go ahead and dock and we'll contact the police there. And she thinks that it's all said and done, that it's all taken care of. And she kind of starts to relax just a little bit because she thinks, okay, I finally got somebody on my side. And at that point, shit really starts to hit the fan, for lack of a better term. She gets a knock on her cabin door that night and looks at the peephole, and who is standing there but the woman from the cabin, the one that she thought was killed. And through the peephole, she sees this woman walk away from the door and go down this other doorway, like at the end of the hall. And she follows because she's like, I gotta talk to her. I gotta find out what's going on. And she gets knocked unconscious and locked in this room in like the crew area that nobody uses. And the woman continues to bring her food and things to keep her alive for a couple of days, I want to say it is. I forget exactly how many days, but it was for a substantial period of time. And like they had made a stop at that one dock, and then they went back on, and it was just the crew at that point, if I'm remembering correctly. And our main character, she talks to this woman at one point, and they kind of begin to develop a bond. She understands what is happening with this girl. And this is where the twist comes into play. And this is something that I absolutely loved about the way that this book was handled, because this twist was ingenious. I saw part of it, but I didn't realize how far it extended to, and I liked that. Like, the foundation was there. I caught up on that, but it still threw me through a loop. The woman in cabin 10 is a woman whose name is Carrie, and she turns out has been having an affair with the owner of the ship. And I thought that was something that had happened. I figured it was somebody that, I figured that she was somebody that he had been seeing, and that maybe she had threatened to tell his wife or something, and he killed her and threw her overboard. So I had the affair right. The rest of it I was completely wrong on. And what the deal was is his wife, named Anne, was extremely, extremely sick. And she is very, very, very wealthy. And apparently he had been waiting for her to die for a while, but she had a very, very strong will despite being as sick as she was, and she just would not die. So he came up with this plan with his mistress, who apparently looked very, very, very similar to his wife. There was a very striking resemblance before she got sick. She looked like her before she got sick. And he told her that his wife was going to be getting off at one of the docks, and that they could have the rest of the trip together if she dressed like his wife, because like if she shaved her head and dressed like her, nobody would know the difference. And it would be an opportunity for them to actually be together in public. And she jumped on that because she was like extremely, extremely in love with him and wanted to do that. And so he put her in an empty cabin to not raise suspicion until his wife left the ship, so to speak. Well, that same night that the main character saw her, after she had left, the owner came to the cabin telling her that his wife had found out about the affair, and they had a confrontation, and he accidentally killed her. So he brings her the body in a trunk and tells her, I have to go to this introductory dinner. It will look suspicious if I'm not there. You take care of this. Basically, he wanted her to throw the trunk with the body in it overboard. And when she was going to do that, it popped open, and it turned out the wife was inside it, but she was conscious. She was alive and began to struggle. And Carrie accidentally kills her, trying to protect herself or whatever. So I thought that was like a twist on a twist. I didn't see that coming. I just figured that he was having an affair because his wife was sick and he couldn't handle it or whatever. And that was just mind-blowing to me. So he wasn't planning on somebody seeing it, and they had to start like intricately devising this plan to make this woman look crazy. And she would not let it go. So at this point, they decided to lock her down here. And he had told Carrie that they were going to let her go once they got into another country. But the more they talk and the more that our main character starts convincing her how devious this man is, how many lies he's already spun, she's like, do you really think he's just going to let me go? Do you really think his wife was an accident? It's, she started breaking her down and making her see. And so she comes out and tells our character that he's coming back to the ship early because he had been doing some sort of business thing at one of the docks, and he was coming back early and decides to let her go. So they stage this struggle to make it look like she overpowered Carrie and escaped. This was completely gripping. It had me from the first page to the end. At one point I thought this woman was crazy. I thought, well, not crazy, but like so highly traumatized that she hallucinated it. Because it was a close quarters thing where every single person on the staff said no. They didn't know who she was talking about. There was nobody that matched that description. And it was a vacant cabin. There was nothing in it. And when she had gone over to borrow the mascara from the woman, it had apparently been covered in things. So I was like, there's just no way. But there was. This was absolutely breathtaking. The writing style itself was impeccable. And this was 2 months in a row where a Ruth Ware book was my favorite book of the month. The first one being The Death of Mrs. Westaway in June. I loved this more than words can express. It really, really is one of the best mystery thrillers that I have read in a very, very long time. And that is saying a lot because that is probably my favorite genre. So this is a 5-star read. If you haven't read it yet, go ahead and pick it up. I guarantee that you won't regret it. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. If you read it, make sure to tell me about it in Let's Compare Notes. So good. I might read it again before the end of the year. I'm not kidding. Yeah, if you like this video, be sure to comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.